What's up? It's your boy, Bobby Sapphire. We're here with episode 7 of the KTOD radio podcast. Yeah, we're at 7 now. With me, as always, are my boys. Let's go right down the row. Win a case winner, Justin Desai. Winning that case.
I am the champion.
Go. He won undefeated.
Undefeated.
Did you drop a game?
I lost one game. Get to the intro.
That's all right. We can talk in the intros. My little bro, KTOD Maddie. What's up, Maddie?
What up?
Oh, I didn't gear up.
I was in bed when he won that win a case. I would have loved to go, but it was past my bedtime.
Also,
8 p.m.
Also geared up in the KTOD hoodie, Stevie Getz. How's that thing fitting? Is that the XL or the 2XL?
What up, boys? This is the 2. I'm thinking the XL might be a little tight. That's why I went with 2.
Flex on him.
I gotta drop a couple pounds for beach season. Was it Hot Boy Summer or something like that?
I like it.
Something
Hot
like
Wookiee
that.
Summer. Hot Wookiee Summer.
Hot Wookiee Summer. All right, so the competitive grind has begun. Justin headed up to that win a case. I flew to Florida. We're gonna talk about the competitive team that we've had going on behind the scenes, which I didn't think was that secret, but I guess we haven't talked about it openly, so that'll be revealed if you haven't watched my tournament report from the Florida event. We're going to talk about recent results at both the Win a Case and the Florida event, and then upcoming events. The cash events are here. The grind is on.
Let's go.
Fighting stuff.
Love it. The grind is on, baby.
All right, so here's how.
grinders.
Look at these grinders. Couple of grinders. This is the crew that we've been testing with for the last couple months. There's the 4 of us at the top.
Hair.
Yeah, that hair is
flow
fly.
is real. You got to bring that back.
You got to bring
Hair's
that
wild.
back for sure.
Hello.
And then anyone who played Destiny with me knows Reflex, who just came in second at the Florida 5K. We've got Chrono, who was one of our Destiny locals. He's grew up local to us. He lives up in New Hampshire now, so pretty close. But the last World Championships, me and Chrono tested a ton for Destiny. And then if you haven't checked out Woo on YouTube, he's got a great channel, does a lot of great competitive content, one of the smartest people out there making content and playing the game. We were able to scoop him up, so we get games with him all the time. And it's been really good. And obviously, we get to go to our first events and really show up, which was huge.
Yeah, it's a great group. Steve and I usually hate people, and we're very exclusionary on who are these people infiltrating our friendships. But I got nothing but good things to say about him. Woo's super nice and really, you mentioned super smart. CJ's really smart and puts a lot of time in. And I don't know Reflex quite as well, but Mike, you only spoke highly of him. So it's a really good vibe so far, and we're really excited to partner and then kind of move forward and crush. The only one I'm a little bit questioning is Maddie. How does Maddie fit in on this?
Look at that face.
Maddie's never been on the team before.
Augury Owl.
Augury Owl is
He's
true. We had an
Augury Owl
unofficial
recruit.
partnership on one event.
I think I have that 3D Augury Owl right behind me, too.
I'm behind the scenes. I've gotten a lot of people on the Magic Pro Tour, believe it or not.
Yeah, you've
The guy-
coach him up.
The guy behind the guy.
So, I'm the guy behind the guy, all right?
Everybody needs the guy behind the guy.
Always.
I'll get in there. I'll grind with you. We'll find the lines. I'll put cards in your deck. Shout out Recruit. I actually was on Cunning too, but I didn't want to take too many bullets out of there.
I mean,
We were in that PTQ at the Providence GP that was, I think, maybe the largest PTQ of all time.
Yeah, that was
Me and you.
I beat.
That was a day. That was a day.
Yeah.
Was that
Just
the one you
missed on the
scooped him out of?
Pardon me?
Was that the one you scooped him out of?
I needed some dream crushing. I was pretty.
No,
I
wasn't involved in that scooping him out of top 8. That was a different scooping.
No,
Yeah.
that was a bubble one. I think
That was
his
bubble.
draw killed me, but I think I needed insane math. But honestly, that was a great PTQ. Not to relive the past. I beat the lead for Rookie of the Year on the Pro Tour. We had a good time. It was a
We had
good
a great time. Augury Owl and Scholar of something.
Splinter
was the
Twin.
card I
Yeah,
played.
we
You
had
played
some
Augury
cool
Owl.
tech. That's good. It's all good. But this one thing I was going to say about this group is also people aren't afraid to try things. It's all open minds. We will go down any line to see if it works. There's no egos, which has really just been great to learn and get better. And well, maybe Steve, but he's he's an enigma.
No, it
yeah,
speaks
I
to a
think it's
point.
good
If you think you've got the answers, you're the one who's going to be complaining that you bubbled out.
Yeah.
And I think that's the beauty of the group. It's hey, what do you guys think of this? This is this really unique idea. There's that first I don't buy it, but let me see what it looks like, right? And let's hop on and let's game. So I think that's like a huge strength. And I think for a lot of the games we played, it's been a strength of like, okay, everyone thinks this idea sucks. It doesn't actually suck. Wow, it's won like 12 games in a row. And now we're really cooking with fire and we're cooking with
Mhm.
gas.
All right, let's talk about the recent events. So there's Justin and
Oof.
Chrono who headed up to New
Very
Hampshire.
nice.
They
Cool.
split. You split, right? You split the prizes. You
Yeah,
split
so we
like
even
7
split on
boxes.
the beginning, right? And we kind of were I went 5-0 and Chrono went 4-1, only losing to me. He lost 0 games other than I had the quick 2-0 on him. But I did lose one game to a green Vader, but we came in first and third. It's weird how tiebreakers work in this game. I will say that.
Yeah,
I thought we
it's
were
a
going to
whole thing.
win first and second, which would have been 9 boxes. But you certainly can't complain about splitting 7 boxes. And yeah, it was just a really good time. Really, it was fun to play. I haven't played that much in real life, and it was fun to grind and play against a couple guys that drove down from Canada. Shout out to them, and we had some good matches. I was able to play both those guys. Obviously, won both of those matches. Played CJ, played Nick Cuenca from Destiny and some other games. And the Sabine fired pretty well there.
Yeah, and you guys had made some innovations with the Sabine, which we're going to talk about in a second. What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, yeah, just like the market prices of those boxes are crazy. And then Chrono opened one of his boxes and opened a showcase, which is pretty insane. A
That's
Cheer It
ridiculous.
showcase, which he promptly sold to Woo.
Oh my god.
All right, so here is the Sabine list that you took down there, and the thing that probably raised the biggest eyebrows, including my own when you first included it, was the R2D2. I'm sorry, the thing that raised the biggest eyebrows is the C3PO in the sideboard. But before that, the R2D2 in the main deck. Bright Hope was a card that we always liked and had like sort of floated the idea of putting in the main deck in and out. But as we tried different things, we just saw more and more that 6 booty was incredible.
Yep.
And then you applied that to the 1-drop in R2D2, which had a lot of applications to being able to like solve the issue that we had when we're playing a 3-drop and didn't have anything else to play. And
Right.
then of course, like you have more booty math.
Yeah, so basically, and when there's a few combos here or conversations here about like what's not into. Like there's no Gorilla Tech Pod. Um, there's none of the 2-drop Saboteur, the beach guy. His name escapes
Rebel
me. But
Pathfinder.
Rebel Pathfinder. Basically, what I wanted to do, and Mike, I mentioned this a bunch too, is like I wanted to just kill as fast as possible. So you've got the full 9 pumps. And I thought about just how do you get a bunch of guys that stay out more. So that was where R2 came from. Right Hope was actually, it's funny like to see this, and this is the exact 50 that was 8-0 in Florida also. That was the 1-8-0 Florida list. And like up until me getting in the car, it was like 2 Dodonna and 1 Bright Hope. And then I was like in the car, I was like, I kind of want 2 Bright Hope and 1 Dodonna and flipped it. So it's interesting that sort of translated to the power of our back end on the Patreon, where we get in from 2 in the morning from this tournament being over. I drop it in one of the channels and saying, hey, this list was fire. You all should maybe look at it for the the weekend events, and obviously it was successful there. So yeah, R2 was amazing though. He really does a lot with the deck. I had multiple opponents, so I played against 3 overwhelming barrage decks, and it's like they're looking at the board and they're like, wait a second, this is just a vanquish.
Yeah.
This is all it does is vanquishes something right now. And like, I thought this was gonna kill 2 things, and it's killing R2D2. like,
Yeah.
and then it has great synergy with Rebel Assault and Dodonna, and just the filtering is like really, really good. I definitely won a match where I like saw X-Wing on like turn 5, and I was like, you're going to the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
And the next card that I drew, like the next card was Fasibi, and it's like, oh, gotcha for Exacties based upon being essentially able to draw a card. So R2 is really incredible, and the list itself is really strong. It's really aggressive.
It's pretty cool when you put it that way too, because think about all the games where you get so close in your top decking, he can just be digging for spark, just for that final burn.
100%.
And like because you draw 2 cards a turn, like I think the filtering is just so valuable. So I put it in a lot of decks. I know you put it in a lot of decks. So seeing you put it here was like, yeah, it was cool to see.
I think it's one of the most powerful cards.
R2 here.
Yeah. I also think like they're gonna kill it. Do they really want to kill it and take some pressure off? Does it take 2 attacks to kill it off of something? It gets in a little bit, and like it's sort of this weird thing where like maybe it actually helps you race because they kind of need to kill it
Yeah.
because it sort of pings a few times, and then because they kill it with, let's say, a boss, right? Like, will that boss? Well, I guess ambush, is different. But let's say something would four
Yeah, boss
power that's
probably not the
already out
best
there.
example, but
Boss,
yeah,
boss, not a good example, but like they're saying, okay, base or R2, right? Like, which one do I want to get rid of? And they actually kill the R2, and then you're like, okay, cool. Like, now you're 4 up on life, and maybe that's the difference between like 2 more draw steps of being able to draw like burn or another. It's also amazing synergy. So I played CJ in the mirror and I mulliganed. I had no 2-drop, and my hand was like pumps and R2 and like a Dodana, and this was the mirror, and I was like, oh boy, like I probably lost this one. I just like played R2, saw Wing Leader, and I was like, oh, like
yeah. I mean, that's the one matchup
CJ's
where
done
like
for.
you can
Yeah.
absolutely just slam a wing leader on 2 and be really, really happy about
Right.
it. I was going to say conversely too that like they can ignore the R2 and he's just going to do the 1, 2, 3
Right.
maybe, and then with buffs could do like 4 or 5 points of damage,
Right.
and that's often the damage that Sabine like comes up short when they stall out.
Right.
The thing that I liked, and I'm glad that you like finally kind of cracked the issue that we were having on the pumps, was that like we liked R2, we liked pumps, we never had all 9 pumps. And with R2, we kept saying, like, man, he makes the pumps better, but how do we fit him in? And you cut the Pathfinders, and I still really like Pathfinder, but I, of course, like understand that something's got to go. But he helps enable all the pumps,
He helps
both with the
enable, like,
booty and for
heroicing,
cheap.
attacking. Like, you have a second R2 in hand, and you're like, well, like, might as well heroic this one, do 3, draw a card, cycle a card, play another R2. Now you cycle another card. Another thing with him, last thing, this is the R2 podcast, but really strong against Power of the Dark Side. So like
Of
you
course.
play him and like another 3-drop or something, and it's like they look at their hand with Power of the Dark Side, and it's like, oh, that card just basically can't get played at this point. So it's nice to be able to blank that.
Yeah, and we'll probably loop back a little bit to talk about Sabine when we talk about like going forward in the meta, because I think Sabine is not only like has a lot of staying power, but also is really well positioned following the Florida 5K. Did you guys want to say anything else about Sabine or the case event or anything like that? Or the great state of New Hampshire, live free or die hard?
You go, Steve.
I was just gonna ask. You said this exact 50 went 8-0 at the Florida 5K.
I'm pretty sure I'd have to look at it, but I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure that's the 50. Yeah.
Who did? Was it someone from like? Did you give him the list?
He
Yeah, it
said
was
that he
someone
was
in our
on.
Patreon.
Yeah, it's someone on our Patreon. His name is Michael. He said he was on
That's
R2's
Richard.
early too. Was it Richard? Oh, maybe it was Richard. Richard
Yeah.
and Michael both played Sabine and top 8'd.
Okay. Nice.
Either way, good job to both of those guys.
Yeah, nice.
Yep, 2.
And Tada also topped with Sabine, who's also in our Discord. So it
That's
might not be the exact, but these guys, they said they all said that they've been following along with the conversations and just sort of like lurk, and they're also doing their own testing. Everyone in Florida like had all day Saturday to test because the event was until Sunday, which was cool.
The only thing I wanted to say, and
Right.
hope
Sunday,
I didn't
right.
miss it because I had to show Mike proof that I was on Cunning back in the beginning of the month, was another big booty thing I love in this list is the Bright Hope. Like, I think good in the mirror, another really hard thing to kill. That staying power that you talked about, Justin, really goes a long way.
Huge.
And it stops the fire spray, which is like a super tilt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, really good.
All right, transition to Florida. We talked about this in my tournament report, but as a group, were there any surprises to this meta? 37 out of 143 were Boba Fett. Mostly green, some mix of yellow. 24 were Sabine, 15 Vaders, 15 Idens, 12 Leias, 8 Palp, 7 Krennic, 5 Luke, 4 Quiz, 4 Tarkin, 4 Han, 4 Chirrut, 3 Chewie, 1 Thrawn, 1 Cassian. R.I.P. Jin, R.I.P. IG88.
How many of the Vaders do we? I mean, you might not know. Like, how many were blue and how many were green? Do we know?
I don't know how many were green. I know and there might have been others too, but I know that the group who put the 2 in the top cut were a group of 3 blue red Vaders who had been working together, and one of whom shout out to George the Hulk, who top 8'd the SCG in Atlanta the previous weekend. And Justin did a video last week on a deck tech about that, where he kind of like took the conversation about George's deck and sort of like built a community version that we explored a lot. And then your version ended up being like pretty close in the main deck to a lot of the choices that they had made in their updated version.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
cool process on the back end, but then the winning list obviously was a little bit different with the community process was so vast, it took off to be something that I couldn't really control, because there was just so, hey, what about this? What about this? What about this? And I tried to encapsulate it in the video. And then I sort of took all those and tried to condense it into one 50 card deck, and missed a few things, but had a lot of the features that George had, right? Certainly like focused on blue, focused on the vigilance cards to make Chilston really strong. Didn't have early units, really pretty clear on that's things like Death Trooper aren't really going to be all that effective in what their plan was. So yeah, it was cool to see that. Obviously, it had great results winning the tournament.
Yeah.
One thing I wanted to chime in, or maybe two things. You can cut me off in the middle. Maybe I'll break them up. But like, one thing that was cool was George came into our Discord right away and like made that thread about his deck and his like. I thought that was
Loved
cool
it.
for him to come
Yep.
in and share it. I thought that was sweet. And then then it evolved for like Justin did the thing. But the other thing I wanted to say is like this deck was such a cool evolution of the Iden deck that we had talked about. I think Tad had brought it up to me and some people in our the old Looper gang, and like I was playing a lot of that red Iden with the events and going the strategy and seeing where it kind of fell flat. Main deck and the restocks, all that, and like seeing the evolution of that deck kind of behind the scenes turn to this, I thought was really cool.
It was really great that George joined the community conversation, was super like open to ideas, and actually took some of the ideas. So if you look at like the list that he 5-1 to, I believe it was a 1K, was it Atlanta? And then he like he was like, hey, that really looks interesting. Like we talked a lot about Vader's lightsaber, and it ended up in both their sideboards, and like that was like something like, hey, is this gonna like turn clocks to be even faster? Or like how about you cut some of the draw and you like play a few of these cards? And it's like really kind of unique and great that he took some of it. Obviously it was his brainchild, and he brought the most to that conversation of anyone. But it was cool that he drew upon some of those things in the community chatter too.
Yeah, and it's definitely cool that he used the Discord as a resource to like have an elevated discussion about even his own list, which is like exactly what the Discord is meant to do, like a highly functioning competitive Discord. I don't know if you guys were around for this, but also that first night that he came in after the SCG, someone was like, I want to test this deck. Will you play? Like, and I was playing, so I played them, and he was watching, and he was like trying to coach them through, and then he was like, wait, do you mind if I play against you? And like, I didn't even think that highly of it, because I was running Sabine at the time, and there was one game where he played three Chirrut three Chilston in a row, and I was like, damn, that I couldn't get through three, but the other two I won, and I was like, yeah, I don't really think much of it. But then as I swerved to Boba Fett over the course of the week, my Blue Vader matchup went from like pretty favorable to unwinnable. So it was great. And then another thing that I liked about you mentioning the Vader's lightsaber, which you just reminded me, is a bunch of people who were like making YouTube videos reading the deck list to people didn't understand the Vader's lightsaber at all, and I thought that was just
curious and shocking news.
Curious and shocking news. People reading deck lists don't understand how a deck
was it
plays.
one of what? Yeah, never, I'm not going.
Yeah. All right. Anything to say about Swiss? Any numbers jumping out at you with Swiss? I was surprised at how many Boba there were. I definitely didn't think Boba would be the most represented deck by 13. Like, I thought it would be closer to Sabine and Iden.
A little surprised that Krennic and Chirrut are so low.
Yeah.
I guess those would stand out as being like, maybe you expect to see those a little bit more at tournaments.
I was surprised that only 3 Chewbacca's, after everyone was on that list from the top 8, was a Poland.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I played it and I struggled with it. But I definitely, that kind of was surprising. There was only 3.
Yeah.
I wonder too how many of the deck, like I'm curious to know which decks went into that double bubble death thing that you talked about.
I was going to talk about that next,
definitely
right?
Yeah.
I was going to, so we could talk about the top 16 conversion, and we see that like no Idens converted, one Krennic, no
Mm.
Palps. Oh no, one Palp did, but he like went undefeated up until I think the final round before he finally lost to
Yeah,
Sabine.
7-1. Yep.
There was an issue where Best Coast Pairings was not built to eliminate draws. So the first round was entered, and if you didn't win the match outright, it put you in your own draw bracket. And so it was like 10 control lists who all drew and then got paired against each other and basically like
Ew.
drew
Yeah.
again. Not all of them or anything, but like most of them drew again, or like either way, it just like sent them into this draw bracket that shouldn't have existed, and
Oh
the
my
round
God.
should have been repaired. But I don't either they didn't catch it or they didn't realize how big of a disaster it was going to be. So that was a disaster for the Iden, especially like the green Iden decks
Oh,
who like
yeah.
lost 1-0 to the other control decks
And then
because
you're playing against like Vaders and Palps as your Krennics and Idens.
yeah, because if you looked at even though actually I'll go
Mm.
back, but if you looked at the Swiss, like you saw, 15 eyed and 7 Krennic. So with the Palps, that's 30. With the Vaders, that's 45. It looked like there was a ton of control there, right? Like when we were looking at the tables that first round, we're like, oh shit, this is a ton of control. But it all fell away as like they weeded 20 of them out. So they weeded like half of them out, right? And then the
Yeah.
Sabine, there's so many Sabines and Leias that they just kept beating the control decks that were up there for the most part. That it just became like kind of a feeding ground of the rock paper scissors of the meta, which was like Sabine beating the controls beating the Bobas, and the Bobas beating the Sabines. And I mean like Sabine as a representation of aggro.
Yep.
One thing just to mention I think is interesting is like Blue Vader didn't play against Sabine in top 8 just because it didn't, right? Is that accurate? It didn't
They
play
played a
top 8.
yellow.
It
They
played
played the
one
yellow
in
one,
the
but didn't
semis.
With a
play
little
the
more-
command Sabine.
All the green Sabines were on one side of the bracket.
Yeah.
But like this, we could theoretically, if things were just a slightly different, be talking about Palp in that seat. If like the parent, the breakers were a little bit different, and if potentially Blue Vader played against the Sabines, and then the Palp was maybe playing against the Bobas, and I don't totally know the intricacies of that matchup, but it is you get
We could be
locked in
talking
some
about a
decent
different winner,
matchups, and then all of a sudden you win a tournament because of it. It was a fantastically played list by Guy, and just great play by him. But also there are some certain things that need to happen to win a tournament. So
Yep, that's just the way the bracket fell, and yeah, I had to play him first, and
Right.
Reflex had to play him last, and we were basically on mostly the same deck, so
right,
it wasn't great. Well, Reflex was playing the semifinals. Me and Chris, our buddy and teammate from X-Wing, we sat down with the blue deck, the Blue Vader deck, and my Boba deck, and just tried to grind lines and try and figure out if any lines like we could get and like see anything to get the health total down, and it was like super super narrow.
Yeah, it's a tough
It was
one.
really tough. So,
that's a tough one.
but it was
'Cause
kind
they
of like a
just-
fun science experiment.
Yeah, it's good to try to find them. They really just shut the door down with the Vader flip. I think that's something the Iden deck couldn't do as much as after this, wiping everything, and a 4/4 is not as scary as a heavy
Yeah.
that can ping and wear a lightsaber.
Yep.
Big booties matter.
Yep.
All right. Anything else to say about the top 16 and the cut conversion rate? Anything like that?
It's cool to
How
see
many-
a variety of stuff up there. That was fun.
How many of the top 16 were from the Discord?
8.
Wow.
8?
Yeah, it was cool.
Yeah,
Fine.
half. Yeah.
What, half?
Yep.
Half of the world?
That's-
Me, Reflex, George, Guy, Narchi, Tata, Michael, Richard. I don't know. I have it on a different slide, but it's in my
Yeah.
tournament report. You can go check
That's
it out.
wild.
Very impressive.
Yeah, not bad.
Pretty cool.
So this
More
is that
report.
Blue Vader deck in the final form. I guess Guy insisted on running the bombing run, even though his teammate Michael was like, "Don't do it," but he wanted it, and he never like boarded in or used it at all. And when you first look at it, there's definitely some questionable choices, but when you realize the lines that it's taking to, get to a super laser blast, flip Vader, and back it up with the Avenger, it's actually really linear. It just looks ugly in the way that it does it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
One thing.
I think it's very solid.
Yeah, it is cool. I was running. I'm curious. I know they have it in their sideboard. I'm curious to hear them talk about Search Your Feelings and why it's in the sideboard and maybe not fitting it in the main. But they have. That's the only thing I'm like, huh. I would love to hear how they did that. But yeah, it's a freaking cool deck.
What do you want to search your feelings against Swiss in like game ones? Because like before the weekend, if you're not facing this mirror, I can see why you might not need search your feelings in the main. But like once this deck is out there and other people are playing it, I think you like
Yeah, you
really
need it.
need search your
Yeah.
feelings for
Yeah.
things like vigilance and restock.
Yeah, I just wanted to make sure when I was playing it, I was willing to take that turn. And granted, I was playing Iden, so you had the healing, but I was willing to take a turn later just to make sure I hit, my Super Laser Blast when I needed to, or Vigilance, or if, in the mirror, the restock. Because I kind of like if, my Iden video from wherever long ago, I said control is going to be coming, and so I was like preparing people for it with like restock in the 60 and all that stuff. Um, so
I
that's
think
kind of
from what I gathered, Maddie, and I think I saw this at a few different places, they were beating like the Iden Reds, not with the milling. They were winning with turning the corner with Vader. So
yeah,
they weren't necessarily, they were seeing that how just sort of that all interacted with takedown not being able to hit Vader right away and like being able to play a unit so you're around power of the dark side. Just the tempo of how that works.
yeah, I can see
They
that.
weren't
It's
leaning on that as much.
yeah, because I think the Iden deck needed to either mill you or
Right.
start landing those late drops where they had their own bomb in there. It's just such a cool evolution to see how this deck that it's a very similar shell, but just how they put Vader in there and it changed everything.
All right, let's move on to the other spice of the tournament. Me and Reflex's deck.
Yes, sir.
Played Green Boba. We played with main deck recruits. We played with main deck Gamel Guards. And then Reflex really hates Cartel Spacer. I like Cartel Spacer. He wanted some spice, so we tried out Cunnings, and he tested them on Saturday and really liked them. I was a little hesitant only because I hadn't tested them and didn't want to get into situations where I was like, oh, I wish I had been planning to draw this Cunning. And then he also went with a third resupply instead of a third steadfast, which I had swapped.
Yeah, and I think he have I think his probe droid and crafty.
Oh yeah, he had three yeah, I keep forgetting I switched that. But he had three crafty, two probe droids, and I like the opposite just because I just like probe droid a lot better versus Sabine.
Mm.
Mhm.
The
love the
Gamma
Gamma
Guards
Guard.
is the one, yeah, yeah, that stands out. And you said you loved it, right? It was great for you all day. You played against a ton of Sabine and
Yep, I played against 5 aggro decks. Reflex played against 6 aggro decks, including the top cut. And Gamel Guards were good all day. When I was boarding in Gamel Guards against control decks, I was like, these guys just need to be main. They're so good. They they do so much. They protect Boba from like a steadfast battalion. Like they have to hit
That's
that first.
cool.
They have to deal with it. It lets you barrage on 5 as your first action
right
without
away.
having to deploy your Boba. It with a surprise strike, it kills their Boba, even if you don't have steadfast or anything like that. It bricks aggro. The only thing it's really bad against is like opposing Bosks, but that's about it. Everything else I've really liked with him.
Yeah, that's really smart, and it lines up really well against um, the Sabine decks that are sort of some of the lines that we've talked about to beat Boba. That hoping to get videos out to the Patreon content too about Sabine play lines against Boba, and it sort of next levels that a lot. So
Yeah, and honestly, if it definitely it could have been a situation where it was like inbred because it did do really well against the lines we like to take to beat Boba Fett. But even independent of that, like it's still just such a good brick wall in those matchups that it ended
right,
up just doing a ton of work for me.
just regardless, yeah,
Yeah, that's
on
what
the
let me see how good it
additional
was
plan.
all the time. Basically, it was like I was always boarding those guys in, and then I was boarding them in the mirror, and then I was boarding them against control, and it was like, yeah, they're just too good.
You just made them. So then all your prep games, you mean?
Yeah. Sorry, in all my prep games, right? And yeah, and recruit was just gas all day, and every time I played recruit, my opponent was like, "What the hell is that card?" And then When I played a mirror in the first round, and the guy just saw the crazy stuff I was running. He's like, "Man, I love this deck. Your deck is crazy." And I was like, "Recruit, yeah, it's so nuts. Just a tutor."
Recruit's great.
It's great. I think it's
Recruit's
going to
really
see a
good.
lot. I think it's
Really
going to see
good.
a lot more play after this
I
weekend.
think it should go in more decks.
Yeah,
honestly.
it's really, really good. I mean,
2 copies of Recruit, 3 copies of Greedo, 2 copies of Shoot First, 2 copies. I'm not going to do
read
that for
them,
content.
baby. That's bonus content. Stay in after here, and Justin will sip cognac and read you the deck list.
Read numbers 1 through
Yeah.
3.
Don't tweet
3
talk.
steadfast battalions.
I could fall asleep to that.
Yeah,
That sounds nice.
just ASMR, Star Wars Unlimited reading. And I think the only other thing worth mentioning on our list is that people
0 copies of card. 0
the
copies of this. 0 copies of this.
the Star
boy.
Vipers in the board. A lot of people like Star Viper main. I never felt it needed it, and just the fact that we did so well versus aggro. Like even if we didn't win all our aggro matchups, and like maybe lost like 1 out of the 11 or whatever, I would still feel pretty good about it. But I feel extra justified that we didn't drop a single game to aggro without Star Vipers in the main.
Yeah,
The recruits help that too. Like, you only have the 3/7
Right.
fleet for when they go space, but the recruits help that. And then again, the Gamos being able to untap and barrage, like take initiative, like slam a Gamo, untap, like take initiative, slam a barrage, like that
Right.
also deals with space pretty handily. So,
Yeah, not all the interactions are like 1 for 1 on turn 3. You need to ECL this. It
Right.
ends up being like, oh, waylay, then I'll Gamo, then I'll barrage. And like,
and like legit, I lost the mirror game 3 after going up really far. Like I had a better Boba flip turn. I had killed his Boba first. I was feeling really good. But my Mull had me drawing I had 2 recruits in my opening hand and units, and I had to resource 1. And it's like the card I swear I would never resource. But like if I already have the curve, I needed something to go down. And I ran out of gas, and he didn't. So it was I was dying for those recruits.
Ponder's a good one.
Yep, definitely. All right. Do we have any? What's on the next slide? Oh, upcoming events. So, the cash events have started. The 5K in Orlando was the first big cash tournament. The May the 4K Be With You event at the SCG Con in Richmond is taking place May 4th. It's $4,000 top prize. First is $1,000. So this price structure is similar to Orlando, but first in Orlando was $1,500. So it's like skimmed off the top for this one. And then they also, if you're going to go down to Richmond, they have a 1K on Sunday. So you can also play for cash on
cool.
Sunday.
Sweet.
Yeah. So I don't know, Justin, you were thinking about going. You still thinking about it?
Yeah, I'm flying this upcoming weekend just for work, so it's a little bit like, how it goes with like the back-to-back flights, but it's really enticing to go, especially with the double events, and STGs are cool, and might play a little Magic if I was to get down there on Friday or something like that. So it is really enticing to play. I'm itching to play after the case tournament and having the FOMO of you guys in Florida. So I think I'm probably 50-50 at this point, but then the other 50 is hanging out with you guys at the 1K. So I'll be playing on May the 4th. Be with you.
It's cool to see so many tournaments giving away cash, because that was one of the things we talked about on our early pod was, where's the evolution of this
Right.
game going to go? Is there actually going to be a competitive OP environment to start off with? And I mean, the proof is in the pudding. They're putting the money up.
Yeah, for sure. It's really cool, and that was something that, like, when I played Destiny, it was like, are there going to be cash tournaments? Will there ever be one? And there never was. But like, these are from the jump basically, and everything's fine. Like, everyone at the Florida event was cool. Even in like I had a win in for the top cut. Obviously, like, win you're getting cash, and lose you don't. And it was like everything was fine. Like, no one was playing crazy or cutthroat or getting pissed or anything. It was just a very chill thing. And then Florida actually like has a ton of cash events coming up. Like, they have 3, 4, 5 1Ks over the next 2.5 months, I think Reflex said. He got a flyer on his car while he was at the 5K. So they just have tons of cash events coming. We have,
and even like box tournaments at this point are like,
seriously, you won.
They're really good.
You won a
value.
case, and when they're $250 each, it's a ton of money.
Yeah.
So
we might have to relocate to Florida for the nice weather and all the 1Ks.
Florida, man.
Move the KTOD headquarters.
1Ks, baby. $300
Yeah,
top
Mike
prize.
Dillon.
I'm going on a quick tangent because I love this game, Star Wars. Was it Rebellion, the strategic game, Mike?
Yeah,
Right?
the video
Where like
game.
at the
Yeah,
beginning of the game, they tell you like your base, the
they give
Imperials
you a
know where
randomly
bases
assigned
and-
planet, and they give you a randomly assigned like planet that the Death Star is orbiting.
Yeah,
You gotta
and so
find it.
like your first move is to basically move your base as the rebels. So we'll just move our
Florida.
Kashyyyk base down to Florida.
What was Mike? What
Be
was
so bad.
Florida? Dagobah?
Dagobah.
Yeah, Dagobah.
That's why.
Yeah.
We are
DT,
we are
okay.
going to the Connecticut 1K at Tabletop Gaming Center, a store that I really like. I've been there a couple times. Actually, the picture of Chrono with his eyes closed from earlier was taken there.
Oh, that's nice.
So this is going to be May 4th, 11 a.m. 1K open deck list for Swiss. So be prepared for
Is it
that.
is it
Ooh.
adjacent to a Chinese restaurant or a poorly managed bar asking for a friend?
It is in a strip mall, so it's.
Oh,
I'm
no.
pretty sure.
Oh no.
I'm pretty
That'll
sure there's
feel
at
just
least
like
one
home.
restaurant in there, but I do
Open
not
up,
recall what the restaurants are. And also, I haven't been there for like 5 or 6 years, so who knows what they are now.
Yeah, I know, especially after COVID. Well, that's yeah. If you guys are at this 1K, either our patrons will know. But like if you're there, come say what's up. We'll be in our KTOD gear.
Yeah, I met a
And
ton of
just
people
love
in
seeing
Florida. People came
yeah.
up to me all day. It
I
was
think
great.
that's
Maddie,
like
I
the
went-
best part.
Maddie, I went to the Carhartt store. The Wave 2 is coming soon. I'm about to
All
drop
right.
Mike, I'm gonna have to drop some stuff to you tell your students to get the printing presses ready.
Yeah, let's go.
Oh,
The printing
okay.
presses are warmed up.
I might have to get a new Carhartt for the 1K just to kind of mix it up.
You
The
need a summer
Carhartt
one.
brews are
Yeah.
wild. They're really we're gonna look so good, man.
Maddie
Love it.
needs
I love it.
a summer cap.
Yeah, I'm gonna be sweating so bad in
Just
these.
get a-
I need like a light.
They must have a hat
Really?
that's like for summer.
This is the brand, Steve. Mustache.
Yeah,
and
you kind of
Carhartt.
gotta
I have
be.
to wear
You
it.
kind of gotta be.
There's
Think
gotta
brand
be.
on brand.
There's gotta-
Yeah,
What
it's
about-
gonna, we'll get through it.
What about like a snapback?
We can see how it evolves, but if I can get like a lightweight Carhartt with some
Oh.
breathability, I'm good.
They've got some snapbacks that I think you would really like.
Okay.
I think you should take a look.
The evolution.
You
We'll-
like a
we'll look at
firm
it after.
duck flat brim, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. This is insane.
Premium content, right?
Yeah. No, I'm shopping
Yeah,
for
I think
Maddie.
he's rated.
Maddie gave me the company credit card. I'm ready.
Yeah, what's it,
We're
Mike?
live.
Yeah, it's your credit card. That's why I'm so
Yeah, it's
ready.
like, all right,
The
we're
company card is yours.
good. Yes.
I'm dropping it in content.
Donna,
You know what? A
Jen-
couple of years ago, no one would have ever thought that would be true.
I love that
how
your
it's
card
grown
probably
up.
is just like Gary and Donna's card too. Mom, Dad.
Okay, I've come a long way from that. Come on. I got my own thing going.
All
So,
right.
so the 1K on May 4th. Oh, never mind. We're going to.
Ooh,
We
spoilers.
can talk spoilers real quick
Yeah, let's
before
do
we go.
spoilers.
We're at 37 minutes, so I haven't lost my mind yet. So I made Avazin big because he seems like the real
He's a real
big,
deal.
the big one to talk about. But
Mhm.
we've got two other small 2-drops: Pike Sentinel, 2/3 blue, Villain Sentinel for 2. So getting that Sentinel ability on way earlier, and then Follower of the Way, a 1/3 Mandalorian who gets +1/+1 if it's upgraded. Just leaning into that Mandalorian upgrade buff, which is pretty cool. Becomes a 2/4, and then like even just minimally, right? You put like a snapshot reflexes on him, he becomes a 3/5.
Mhm.
So
Yeah,
pretty
I
cool.
really like that card. It's like whether it's in limited or whether it's like think of Guardian of the Wills right now, like kind of unplayable as a 2/2. Like
Yeah, 1/3
if
is
you-
so
if
much
you-
better, and 2/4
yeah,
even better
especially
for 2.
on the. So
He's
Have
like
they
a
said
little-
how like draft goes with packs?
Yeah.
Like, is it 3? Is like the new set like 3 of these, or is it like 2 and 1? Like, or is it?
We don't know.
yeah, I heard I don't even know. I heard like they're supposed to be drafted together. I think, but I have no freaking clue.
That'd be
That could
really
be just like something I dreamed up on in a fever dream.
Also, like they could have tested it one way with playtesters
Mhm.
and then changed how they did it after like some
Yeah.
internal stuff. So either way, like when you see a card like this, you just salivate for like all the upgrades that could potentially happen. It's possible that like I think bounties are considered upgrades. So like if your opponent bounties him, he gets
Oh,
buffed.
cool.
Like there's a lot of cool stuff. I think like the design of this set continues to crush. Speaking of like cool design. Avazin 3/3 shield, you're like, oh my god, a 3/3 shield, like that's what Boba needs. But the
I know,
bounty
right?
bounty on this guy is ready up to 12 resources. So
Yeah.
obviously there's a lot of ways to utilize this guy in a way where they're not going to be able to get their resource bonus back. Like you have initiative and you suicide him into something so they can't take advantage. But man, 2-drop 3/3 shielded, that's going to control the ground for sure.
Yeah.
He seems absolutely bonkers good.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he seems really
Well, it's a
good.
random number too for the number of resources.
it's because he has the death mark in over 12 systems.
Yeah.
Oh, that's what it's got to be.
Uh-huh.
They crushed
you go.
design, man. They
Yeah, one and on
continue.
12 systems.
They
Yeah.
continue
On the
Now
top
what-
right there.
I didn't get that at first either. I'm like, what? And then I was like, I thought that should be like one half because he's got like one arm or whatever. And then I like realized it like an hour later, and I like laughed I like chuckled. I was like, hell yeah.
Yeah.
Now the
That's
design of this
fine.
game,
Design.
they basically, I think it's Tyler, the designer, who like he said his main job is to make sure that this game feels like Star Wars. That flavor wise, it is, and like, dude is just crushing it. I love the design
Yeah,
of this
it's
game.
great.
Like
Yeah.
just thinking
so
about
good.
Obi-Wan when he dies, he gives experience. You know, and
Yeah,
you get to draw a card
truly.
if it's like it's just it's experience and information. It's so good.
Yeah.
I will say I think like for the stoinks out there, like you think about like cunning and how there should be more cunning cards and like think about this guy, like he's fielded 7 attack with one of the cunning abilities, and there's just more things to flesh out. Like, you know, you lose out on some of your green cards or command cards, but now you've got these awesome cards. And one thing about the ability, like I don't actually see how it really gets too punished, other than like he loses his shield and then they have like an ambush card. Because
So
if they're taking, like, if they're using, let's say they use something like takedown on him, right? Like, okay, cool. Now, like, you get your free takedown, great, but like,
yeah, and
it's
then they
not like
can
you're
follow up with
getting
like
Took down
a
my
patrol
3/3,
craft. Yeah. So
right, and that's fine, but like, yeah,
I think the
he's still a
best
2-drop.
example I've heard is like, all right, you're playing this, I'm playing Sabine aggro, and I ECL a Fighters for Freedom. I kill this guy, I untap 3, I play another 3-drop, and now I've
Yeah.
ramped my board.
Yeah.
You know.
ECL Fighters
That's
for
a
Freedom.
pretty
That's pretty
brutal
sick.
one.
Yeah, that's a good one.
What-
But I
That's a
like
good
that
one,
this
Mike.
guy. All right, so we're back on Sabine. Okay.
Sabine's in. All right.
Not with Fighters for Freedom though.
No,
I
that
heard
card
that card
sucks.
stink. No, I'm just kidding.
It's terrible.
So the last thing I want to, did you want to talk about the cards some more?
Oh, I was just gonna shill my blue green boys. Like, don't worry, we got a 2/3. We're good.
We're good. 2/3 that dies to Avaza, no problem.
We're chill.
This is the last count right before we recorded. We've got 389 active Patreon subscribers, so nearing 400. And it's been a good month. It's been a good, or maybe like 6 weeks since we launched. So pretty happy about that. If you want to check us out, it's patreon.com/KTOD.
And we got. Oh, can I spoil anything yet, or you want to spoil? It's more your project than mine.
No, we're not spoiling anything.
Okay. No.
This isn't that. We're just planning on right now the reward for the Patreon is there's 2 tiers. There's a Discord tier where you're just in the Discord, and once a month we drop you some deck list images, and then there's the deck list tier where you're in the Discord but you get updates to our deck lists like as they happen. And like you want a list, we're gonna find you a list, even if it probably one of ours, but like let's say I've never played Yellow Vader but someone else has, I'll talk to someone who I trust to get it. But after 3 months, there will be some packages going out.
Yeah,
they're just we've got some good stuff planned, but yeah, that's all I'll say.
Yeah, we're just always trying to increase the value and make, it's a great community, and we're just trying to, see how much we can also give back too. So we appreciate everyone's support, and it's been really fun.
Demonstrate value. All right, so we're at 44 minutes exactly how I like my podcast. 45 minutes. You guys have anything else you want to shout out before we get going?
We're gonna have Drake May on next time.
Play games.
Oh man, did we draft yet? Oh shoot.
It's like
Wait,
happening right
they're
now.
grinding right now.
Yeah,
I got 3 packs ready to.
the draft started in
when we all
26.
meet up.
No,
Oh,
the NFL draft started 26
Oh,
minutes
it's
ago.
Washington's on the clock.
Jeez.
Open
Well,
the-
you know what? You all owe me a box when the next set comes out, and I'm gonna have all my 2/3 Sentinels and my Dr. Evian Waters and all the good stuff there.
Beyond Water is a good one. Wow.
Gotta go Fiji.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks for
Good job.
listening. We'll see you at the tables.
See ya.
Gotta go.
Deuces.